Hi, my name is Ted Lowe, and I've been married to Nancy Lowe since 1995, and we have 4 kids. My job has been helping marriages. I'm sitting down with people that are leading marriage experts, and I'm going to ask them, if you could only tell married couples one thing, what would it be?
I love this so much. You do this every time. You do this research that I'm going, where has this been hiding for 2,000 years?
Welcome to One Things for Married People. Shaunti, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Absolutely.
I thought, given our topic, that a bank would be the perfect place to do this interview.
All right,
but I'm going to check. I'll be right
go
back.
ask.
Okay. On second thought, the security guard doesn't think that's a good idea. So we'll go to some place that they actually want people to sit down
and maybe it'd be warmer.
It'd be warmer. A little bit of coffee. Come on, let's go. Today I get to sit down with Shaunti. She received her graduate degree from Harvard University and was an analyst on Wall Street before unexpectedly becoming a social researcher, best-selling author, and popular speaker. Shaunti speaks at 50-plus events a year with her husband Jeff, sharing her findings around the world. But I think the biggest reason I want you to hear from her is her ability to take complex issues and make them simple. And never has this been more the case than recently. Today we're diving into something every marriage deals with. That topic, money.
Can you believe they would not let us film this in the bank?
No, I can't.
That's
I mean,
so
we're
selfish.
talking about that topic.
Exactly.
I mean,
that's how that works out, right?
Yeah.
Well, I thought, a second option would be, Joanna Gaines' kitchen here.
It kind of looks like that, doesn't it?
It kind of does. I can't wait for you to unpack some of this stuff, but to be honest, when it comes to finances and money and marriage.
Everybody's shivering right now, right?
Yes, everybody's like, ugh.
Finances.
And he said, I don't see we weren't great at. We've landed on our kind of own rhythm with it. What you have found through your latest research is just huge.
I don't know if I ever told you the story, but when we finally realized that God was asking us to do this as our next research project, we were terrified because we've done all this research over the years on all these other topics. And you incorporate them into your life, as you go. And money was the one remaining area of our marriage where we were not on the same page at all. And so much so, I can't believe I'm going to confess this on camera, so much so that literally for years, every year, Jeff tried to get me to go to the Dave Ramsey class at our church, and I wouldn't go.
Oh no! How could you tell Dave?
Seriously,
you told Dave and your husband.
I know. I'm sorry, Dave. You now know this, but that's how not on the same page we were.
And why is that? What was the anxiety for you guys?
Well, okay, so for me, it turns out one of the things we found in the research is that when you're having irritation or avoiding it, which is what Jeff and I were doing. We didn't fight about money ever. We just avoided it. that was us. It turns out the reason for that has nothing to do with the money. Any irritation, frustration, whatever, or good connection, it's not about the money.
It's not about the money.
It's not. It's about how money makes us feel.
How did you guys land on the topic of money? What brought you there to go, okay, I feel like God wants us to do that?
So literally, here's what happened. We had finished our latest book, and we had no idea, because the business model had shifted, how we would pay for another research project. Our research projects are pretty expensive. And we get a call out of the blue after we've been praying, Lord, should we just give this up? And it was from a big company that said, we're starting a whole division that wants to really help people in their marriages around money. And how would you feel about making this your next project and us funding the research?
Oh, wow.
We had no credibility to teach somebody about how do you budget. And it turns out it's not about that anyway.
Statistically, how are couples? What's the tension there?
So it turns out that 92% of couples have tension around money.
92%?
92%. And to be candid, after doing all the research, I think the 8% are the liar, liar, pants on fire cohort, honestly. 77% can't really talk about money without having it be awkward or kind of frustrating or avoidance or that. Now, so it's basically about a quarter of people listening to this are great. They sit down, they have their monthly budget meetings, they have absolutely no problem talking about it, they've got everything planned out, they've got their budget figured out, but about 3/4 of us are not in that category. And we have that tension, and tussle and we don't know how to do this.
What if you found, like, if it's not the money,
Yeah.
you're going, I don't know what button this is pushing inside of me. What are the factors that are underlying?
Essentially, there's 5 factors that are running underneath the surface under our responses to money, okay? And so understanding that is the key. So probably the first one, the one that we all see every day around us, is that it turns out we're not valuing what the other person is valuing. And when it comes to money, and it could be anything from, valuing spending versus saving. It could be anything from, I value really planning. I shouldn't say me. Jeff values planning. I value flexibility. Do you value spending money to save time? Like, I am totally willing to spend money on buying movie tickets in advance online and picking my seat, even though it's an extra like $1.50 to avoid the scrum. Like, I totally value that. And Jeff is like, absolutely not. Let's get there early and stand in line,
Right.
So it's about having those different things that really matter. We actually first started realizing this years ago when we were living in New York and we were newlyweds and we're living in New York City, very expensive. Jeff is working a bazillion hours. We're trying to pay off a ton of student loans, right? You can picture this. And we'd go out to eat every now and then, and I would always order a Diet Coke. And because I'm like, I like something to drink with my meal. And Jeff is thinking, that is $4.50. Like, why do you need that? Water is perfectly fine, right? And then a refill, and there's no free refills. So that's $9 that I've just spent on Diet Coke. You're looking at me like, what are you doing?
No.
And,
No, I'm the Diet Coke guy.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
I
right.
get it.
Yeah.
I'm the spender.
Okay, gotcha. And so it's interesting. Jeff finally realized that he's thinking, in his heart of hearts, he's thinking this is a character flaw, right? Like if you understood money, if you cared about me and all the work that I'm doing, even though I had a job too, you wouldn't be spending our money this way when we're trying to pay down the student loans. And it turns out he just didn't know, it's a value thing. Like, if I can't have something to drink with my meal, I'd rather just save the money and not go out. And that's fine. But he just didn't know that because we hadn't identified it, we hadn't talked about it, and all of us have all this hidden stuff underneath the surface that we just need to pull out and talk about.
So you're saying that there's possible goods that can come out of these really tough conversations because people are running a million miles an hour. Most days we're just hanging in there, and you're going, pause your life and talk about one of the most difficult conversations to have. Like, what can come of that?
Well, it doesn't have to be difficult. First of all, right? I mean, it doesn't actually have to be a hard conversation. Once you know some of this stuff, it's a whole lot easier. That's what Jeff and I have found. We don't avoid it anymore. But you're saying, what possible good can come from these conversations? Well, it depends on if you want a good marriage or not.
So it's that big, huh?
It's that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, so often in the Bible, we're told that the whole point of marriage is God joining two people together to be one, right? And that's supposed to reflect the unity of Christ in the church. Like, there's all sorts of things that happen in that coming together as one. And the problem is when it comes to money, one of the other 5 factors, is that we actually found that we resist being one in our marriage, and it's coming out in how we handle money.
Wow. Why are we resisting being one?
It's something called sin.
It's called sin? I'm from Alabama.
I know, I'm not even from the South. I couldn't do that well.
It's something called sin. Yeah, like, I don't want to be one with you. I want to be one with myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I should probably say that again because anybody from the South is going to be offended by the way I said that. I'm sorry. Let me say that again.
Oh, no, I like it. We're keeping it. We're not editing this out. Okay, back to you.
Well, it is something called sin because none of us really wants to not do what we want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I just kind of want to be able to do what I want to do.
I'm a grown man. I can do what I want to.
It started in the garden, and yep, it's the same thing today. And so it's against our natural sinful tendency to want to be completely one, which means suddenly I can't just be myself. Like, I am myself, but I'm no longer alone. I'm myself joined together with this other person, and we become one, which means if the two are becoming one, that means we have to work towards being one mind, one heart, not being selfish, not trying to take control, not trying to protect ourselves, which is a big one. And all of those things are something we're fighting from the day that we say I do. And the biggest way that we tend to fight it, without even realizing that we're fighting it, is to avoid being one with money. And that's also the biggest way where the rubber meets the road, where we go, am I willing to actually be one? Am I willing to drop my guard? Am I willing to save more money rather than spend it because I want to spend it and I kind of want to do what I want to do and I'm earning some more money and why can't I do what I want to do? Instead go, this is really important to him. And I need to be willing to go, oh, I don't want to do this, but I'm willing to because it matters to him. Am I willing to say that, this is a hard one, am I willing to say that just because I earn that money, it's not my money?
It's our money.
Is it more, we all, to some degree, have a tendency to think that the person who earns the money, it's more theirs than it is ours. But if the two have become one, that is not true. Another one of the 5 is that it turns out we tend to have different fears that tend to be different, that make us feel like we're right on the edge, we're about to fall over. And statistically, it turns out you and Nancy are the exception, but statistically, it's more likely that men, believe it or not, have this kind of feeling like the cliff is my ability to provide, like, and security, and I need to stay. And you basically, when you've got that fear pulling at you, you're working to stay as far away from the edge as possible. And that's one reason why you see statistically, again, there's plenty of exceptions, why we see it's more likely that you have a guy who's going, I need to be careful, I need to know how I'm going to be able to provide, I need to stay as far away from the edge, so if I have to take overtime, if I have to do more trips away from the family, I hate being away from the family, but I will do it in order to make sure that I know that I'm going to be able to provide for now and for the future, because I am backing away from that cliff. And it's more likely that women are like, it turns out it's about 70% of married women are like, yeah, I have that concern too, but the thing that I'm more worried about is I need to make sure the family is close. Like, because if we don't spend any time together, you know, things could go bad, and what happens if it goes bad between us, or are the kids feeling happy and loved? They're not gonna be here all forever. They're gonna leave home.
The older they get, the more,
yes, the older they get, and we're not spending, and it's the thing about, this is our time together as a family on the vacation. And the problem is, my attempt to stay away from my fear, my cliff's edge, tends to make his worse.
Oh, wow.
Because now I'm trying to spend money on vacations or whatever is going to make us close together as a family. And so he's feeling tugged toward that edge, like, but the more we do that, like, I'm worried about providing. So he's like more hours away from the family, and that makes my cliff fear worse.
I love this so much. You do this every time. You do this research, and then you come out with these things that I'm going, where has this been hiding for 2,000 years? And
well, that's what I felt when I was looking at the research. I'm like, how have I been married for 25 years and I didn't know this about myself?
How does money and your research, how does that all work together?
It has been amazing. Every study I've ever done, including this one, has tended to back up what the Bible has said all along. When you look at what Jesus said, that everybody quotes, but just think about what it really means. When Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be, right? He knows, God knows us, and he knows that money, what we do with money, our choices to talk about it, it also steers our heart. It's not just that it reveals what's in our heart, it steers it. And so when
it doesn't just reveal what's in our heart, it steers it.
It steers it. And so, for example, if I let myself do what I did for so many years, which is avoiding being one, and, you know, we had joint bank accounts, you know, we could all see each other's stuff, but, you know, I'm kind of going to handle this one over here and you kind of handle this one over there. That is essentially affirming we're not really one. That's sort of institutionalizing the fact that we're avoiding actually coming together. So, and that is steering my heart in that direction. Whereas when we go, okay, deep breath, we're not going to do that. We're not going to see money as more mine than yours. It's ours. You have just as much rights to what I've earned, as what I have to you've earned. When we affirm that, we affirm that we're one. And it steers us to go, you know what? This is good. This is okay. This is what God asks us to do. There's so much more intimacy when we are not trying to be two separate people because we're scared.
Wow. Talk a little bit about a group that is the only group where the divorce is on the rise, and this is with empty nesters. I've watched this happen a lot. Why is money, such a part of that?
Because suddenly everything in their life has changed, right? Their whole lives up until this point, it was about the kids. And their whole lives were focused, including financially focused, on the same goal. Like, we got to get the kids through college, or we got to get them out into a vocation, or whatever. And suddenly they're actually empty nesters. The kids are done with college. They're left kind of going, who are we?
Right.
Right? And so that's certainly one of the biggest issues, is that they just weren't friends. They were focused, they were two people focused here together, but they weren't together.
They weren't one.
They weren't one. And now when it comes to financial stuff, that again, it reveals the heart and it steers the heart, and how you settle into these patterns in your empty nest years. That is a huge thing for, again, affirming, we've been focused on the kids for all this time, but this is an opportunity to come together, to understand each other, to focus on being together as one. It's a new opportunity.
So I could do this all day, but if you were to sit across the table from a couple and you could only tell them one thing when it comes to marriage and money, just one thing, what would it be?
If you will take the time and the energy, sort of the purposefulness, to actually work on understanding each other and really becoming one in money in your marriage, you can choose for money to be an opportunity for conflict or connection. Your choice.
That we get to pick. This can be something that really can draw us together, or it can really push us apart.
Yeah.
So powerful. So powerful. Shaunti, thank you so much.
Absolutely.